My golden child sister couldn't bear that I'm doing better in life, so she vandalized my car because she knew I wouldn't report her since our cop dad would protect her, but I did something worse and published this video on social media and oh boy, she is on the verge of losing everything. Hi, 30 male. Have a younger sister, Jenny, 26 female, and we do not get along, never have, never will. I guess that's why she went out of her way to try and cause trouble for me, but this time unfortunately it backfired on her. Part of the credit for that would go to my parents who always treated her differently. As a young kid it was very confusing for me because as long as it was just me my parents doted on me, but as soon as my sister was born I was pushed to the sidelines and there was nothing that I could do to bring them back to me, and believe me I tried really hard to win them over but never had any luck after Jenny was born. I took part in sports, stayed ahead academically, danced and sang and acted in school plays, but nothing impressed my parents enough to pay attention to me. It was all about Jenny, which was weird because she didn't seem to be exceptionally talented at anything to me. Had she been a child prodigy? I might have even forgiven my parents for the kind of treatment I received, but she was a bratty spoiled kid who got so used to the attention that she just couldn't stand it when anyone else was receiving it. Every time I came home with good news from school, she would find some way to make the day about her and my parents, let her get away with it as well. It was like they were blind when it came to her, and they proved me right on my 18th birthday. When I turned 18 my parents threw me a party, but in the middle of it we received word from the cops that my sister had apparently decided to get caught while drinking with a couple of her friends. Here's the deal, all of her other friends had made a run for it, but she was the only one who had been caught, and I knew that it was on purpose. She wanted to get caught so that it would become all about her and my parents would be concerned. The worst part is that she didn't even get into trouble for it. The cops just let her off with a warning because my dad is on the force, and once my parents had brought her back home they just reprimanded her for a bit. But they didn't even punish her by grounding her or whatever, so she totally got away with ruining my party, and that wasn't even the last time that something like this happened. At 21, when I got my first job, she decided to come home with her boyfriend and told our parents that she was engaged to him. So instead of celebrating my job, we started to celebrate her engagement, and once again, the spotlight was stolen from me. And I think for me personally that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I got into a huge fight with my sister and my parents that day, and instead of trying to understand me they told me that I was being oversensitive and dramatic, and after that I never spoke to them again. My parents tried to reach out to me several times afterward, but it has been 9 years and I still haven't spoken to them because I know that they still love my sister a lot more than they love me. Jenny has never tried to reach out to me, and from what I know she broke off the engagement with that boy a couple of weeks after I cut them out of my life, so all that really was just to hog the limelight, so I didn't get any attention. Anyway, I'm glad that she did not try and reach out because she's a horrible human being and I wouldn't want anything to do with her. For 9 years we haven't spoken, but I guess she knows what I've been up to. We have all seen each other at family events and stuff, and I think my family knows that I'm doing well for myself. I drive a pretty nice car and I always try to dress my best. Since I don't have any family of my own and I don't plan on having one anytime soon either, all my money is spent on myself. I can afford this because I'm running my own company, and it's pretty thrilling since that's what I always wanted to do. 2 years ago, when my business started taking off, I decided to buy a new house and move out of the apartment that I had been living in ever since I got my first job. I had told all my relatives not to give out my address to my family, especially not to my sister, but somehow she was able to find out about it, and 6 days ago she showed up in the evening and decided to vandalize my car. I had just come back home from work and I was about to leave for a party again, so I hadn't bothered to park my car in the garage and it was still out in the driveway. When I came back outside to drive to the party I saw that somebody had spray painted my car with blood red paint, and they had said some pretty mean stuff. The sides of the car had been spray painted with a bunch of cuss words, but that did not bother me as much as what had been spray painted on the windshield. You don't deserve any of this. I was shocked for a few minutes trying to just process what I was seeing, and I was about to call the cops when I realized that if this was the handiwork of my sister then there was simply no point in doing so, because if I got the cops to report my sister and my dad would just squash the entire case and she would be let off with just a warning again. After I had processed what I had seen I realized that the handwriting belonged to my sister, and just to be sure I checked security footage as well. She had been wearing a hoodie, but I could just tell that it was her since she hadn't been careful enough and I had caught a bit of her face on the cameras. When I realized that it was her, I knew that there was no point in calling the cops because my dad would deal with it and she would get away with everything. I'm speaking from experience, not just from my 18th birthday but also because of all the gossip that I've heard about my sister from a couple of relatives. Apparently, taking advantage of my dad's connections has become a pretty common thing for her. To be honest, I have a fair idea of why Jenny did this since she hasn't been doing that well in life. I have heard from a couple of people that she had tried to start a business a few years back, but that had failed miserably and she had to get help from our parents to clear all her debts. Even the jobs that she had had before, they refused to take her back. With nothing else to do, she kind of gave up on everything and just started drinking and doing drugs, and my dad knows about it. He knows about all my sister's shady dealings and is constantly trying to help her cover up and bail her out anytime she gets into trouble. I guess recently Jenny has been finding it very difficult to deal with the fact that I am successful, especially because I made it to the cover of a local magazine and that had become the talk of the town among the family a few days back. And she's not really dealing well with it emotionally since she hasn't really grown up from when we were kids, and also because she doesn't really have anything going on for herself and partying every weekend isn't really something worth bragging about anymore. And maybe that's why she felt like she had to go out of her way to vandalize my car and let me know that I don't deserve any of this even though I do. It might sound mean what I'm about to say, but she also deserves what she's going through right now. She was never very hardworking or dedicated to anything. She just expected things to work out for her, and my parents always made it happen, so it isn't surprising that she's turned out like this. So when I saw that footage, I knew that there was no point in taking it to the cops because my dad would definitely not allow Jenny to get in any sort of trouble, but I was not about to let her get away with it since I had never even spoke to them for 9 years, but she has still decided to try and get on my nerves. After some brainstorming, I came up with the brilliant idea of posting the video on social media and leaving everyone else to deal with her. I took a bunch of photos of whatever was written on my car and posted it along with the video claiming that it was my sister who had done it and I was sure of it. Unfortunately, I couldn't go to the cops with this information because my dad, who had spent a lifetime in the force, was going to make sure that she covered all of the up just so her darling baby did not get into trouble. Within a couple of hours the comments started pouring in and I had made sure to unblock my family just so they would be able to see this post. When Jenny inevitably texted me to take that post down, I just told her that I wasn't going to do that and she couldn't even make me, because if she took this up legally she would have to prove that it was actually not her in the video, and that would require this situation to go to court, and it definitely is her in the video. So we were at a stalemate, but to be honest she had more to lose than I did, because even though she had vandalized my car and I would have to pay for it to get repainted, it really wasn't a big deal for me because I was earning enough to be able to afford it. On the other hand, if she decided to take this situation up legally in order to get me to take my post down, then she would have to try and prove that it was not her, and she had more because it was actually proven that it was definitely her in the video. She would be screwed. And it wasn't just about her, even my father and whoever had been helping her out, they would also get into trouble. I'm pretty sure that she hadn't seen this coming. She had probably just expected me to go to the cops and have them deal with it, and then she would have just spoken to our dad and gotten away with all of this scot-free. Unfortunately, I know my family and she picked a fight with the wrong person this time, so after I sent the text to her she did not even reply for a couple of days because she did not have anything to say. The post stayed up and pretty much everyone that we know, my friends, our family members and even our family friends, had seen that post. Finally, 2 days ago, she reached out to me once again and said that she was ready to cough up the money required for the paint job, but she just wanted me to take that post down. But for me, it was obviously not about the money. So I told her that I didn't care about the money, I wanted her to acknowledge what she had done and post a public apology, only then would I consider taking the post down. At that point she started pleading with me and said that she was ready to apologize in person or however else I wanted, but just not publicly because that would involve having to accept the fact that she had done something like this and it would put everything at risk for her, and claim that she would lose all her clients. I don't know what client she's talking about because I don't think she has a business right now, but I don't care either way. So far she had just been denying all of it whenever anyone was approaching her to ask about it, but accepting it was just going to make her look bad. But I didn't really care. I told her that this was what I wanted and she could either do it or that post would stay up. It was as simple as that for me. And she sent me a couple more messages after I told her that I was not ready to negotiate, trying to reason with me, but I didn't even bother to reply. A few hours after that my father called me up and told me that the post that I had made was not just reflecting badly on my sister but also on him, and he had dedicated his life to his career, so he couldn't allow something like this to derail it. He requested me to take that post down, and yet again I had to disappoint another person by declining, because if he had just not risked anything at all to protect my sister, maybe I wouldn't have anything to say against her in my post in the first place. Now her reputation was at stake, but instead of trying to convince Jenny to apologize to me publicly, my parents started yelling at me on the phone. They said that I was being ridiculous and that my success had gone to my head since I thought that I could just do whatever I wanted and get away with it. I was about to hang up on them as soon as they started yelling at me, but then my mother started crying and said that she had never expected me to behave like this. She acknowledged the fact that Jenny and I had been treated differently as kids, but she and my father had tried to contact me several times throughout the past 9 years and yet I had never responded, so it wasn't fair for me to act like they were the villains here, even though they had tried to make amends with me a lot of times. Even now, I had no idea that they had apparently cut ties with Jenny soon after I made that post, and she told them the truth, that it was indeed her. The only reason they were even speaking with her right now was because they had to get me to take that post down. But apart from that, they had no contact. They told me that they really had changed as people, but now by not taking that post down, I was ruining my dad's reputation as well without even giving her a chance to prove that she had changed. And now I'm kind of confused because I really don't want to take that post down. At the same time, I don't understand what to do with the situation regarding my parents. So AITA for not wanting to take down a Facebook post against my sister even though it's ruining my dad's reputation? Update 1. Hello. So a couple of things before I move on to the update. The first being that my dad has retired from the force. He just crossed 55 recently and announced his retirement around the same time, even though it's not exactly mandatory for him right now, but he's been having a lot of problems with his heart, so he decided to take an early retirement. This happened just a couple of months ago and I found out about it from other family members, but he still has connections with his colleagues on the force, and I know for a fact that if he wanted to he definitely would have been able to bail my sister out. Besides, I think posting it on Facebook did a lot more damage to my sister's reputation, and that's exactly what I had wanted, so I don't really regret not calling the cops on her. I think I did the right thing and coming to Jenny and what kind of drugs she was taking. I'm not really sure about that. All I know is that none of what she was doing was legal, not just drugs, but she's also involved in a lot of other shady things, because I know for a fact that she hasn't worked since her business flopped a couple of years back, and yet she has still managed to be able to pay rent and live in an apartment of her own. Of course, it's very likely that my parents have been supporting her financially, but even then I'm sure that they haven't been giving her money to party, and her Instagram feed is just full of pictures of her living it up with her friends. I don't know exactly what she's involved in, but know that it can't be anything good, because if she has been able to raise money for herself without working hard, I'm pretty sure she's doing something illegal and dishonest, and my dad has been helping her cover it up, so he's not really the honest and upright cop that he has been pretending to be for everyone else, and that's why I don't see any reason for me to take that post down and protect his reputation. They did have a valid point that they had tried to contact me several times in the past couple of years, but the reason that I had never accepted their attempts to contact me was because I had always known that for them my sister was more of a priority than me. And even in this current situation, it was the truth. They claimed that they had cut her off but still spoke to her so they could get me to take the post down, so they didn't really cut her off, and what they said to me was pointless. I was a bit confused at the time because I was feeling a lot of mixed emotions, but after reading the comments on my post I realized I didn't really have to take that post down. My family deserves every bit of the hate that they are getting right now. They have brought it onto themselves, and I'm not the bad girl in this situation in the slightest. So it's been 9 days now and the post is still up. I got my car repainted already. I didn't think there was any point in waiting for my parents or my sister to cough up the money that they owed me, and besides, it was not about money for me in the first place. I think I have made that very clear, but in spite of that my sister has not given up. Jenny keeps texting me again and again saying that she really is sorry and that she's ready to send me whatever amount I ask for, which is just another indicator that she's definitely involved in something shady, because otherwise where is she getting that money from? Since my parents just told me that they have cut her off, I'm pretty sure they're not giving her the money. Anyway, she keeps texting me and I just have to keep ignoring it, because all I want is an apology, and a public one at that, and unless and until I get one, that post is staying up. At this point, even if I do take it down, it's going to be pretty pointless because everyone has seen it. The entire family has ostracized Jenny and my parents. Literally not one person wants to speak to them anymore. As for whoever went to school with us, most of them have reached out to tell me that they are not surprised that Jenny turned out like this. She had always been a bit of a brat and thought that she could always get away with everything, and she could. That was true, but not this time. Unfortunately for her, the only people who have not spoken to me after that last phone call are my parents, and I genuinely have no idea what they have been up to. Truth be told, I really don't understand why it's so difficult for my family to just acknowledge and accept their mistakes and apologize for them to me. It's a very simple and reasonable condition in my opinion, and yet they are acting as if I've asked for the world. It's really sad, but I'm not surprised that they are acting like this. They've always been this way, and I for one am glad that I got them 9 years back, because they don't deserve to be a part of my life in the first place. Update 2. So my parents decided to pay me a visit today, but it was not just them who showed up. Their family lawyer came along with them. My mom's older brother, my uncle, is a pretty great attorney, but I'm not sure why exactly he decided to come along with my parents to visit and intimidate me. It was the weekend, so I was at home in the morning when they came by, and then I saw them standing outside. I decided to invite them in because I was really curious about what they had to say. As soon as they were inside, my parents told me that they were there to talk about the post and said that they would be forced to file a defamation lawsuit against me if I did not take it down. I wish I could say that I felt threatened or intimidated in the slightest, but I was just amused that they thought that. Anyway, when they told me that they would be filing a lawsuit for defamation against me, my uncle decided to show me the paperwork for it, which had already been prepared by him. Just show me that they were serious about this and not just bluffing to scare me. Unfortunately, even the paperwork in the presence of a lawyer didn't scare me. I just told my parents that they were free to do whatever they wanted. In fact, I didn't even understand why they felt obliged to come to my home and give me a warning before they went through with the lawsuit. They had no need to do that, and after saying that, I told them that since they had made up their mind, they were free to leave, because I had also made up my mind and I was not going to go back on my word. So I was definitely not taking that post down until I had received a public apology from Jenny, but they refused to get up. They remained seated, and my dad tried to drive home the point that they were trying to make, that they were giving me a chance to avoid a lawsuit and a lot of trouble by just taking that stupid post down, and I needed to take it seriously instead of laughing it off. When I stayed silent and did not say anything, my dad decided to slam his fist against my coffee table, and that's what really pissed me off, because it's very expensive and I did not want him to cause any damage to it. His daughter had already damaged my car and I had to pay for it. I was not going to allow another one of those incidents to take place, so I told him to get out of my house because it was very obvious that neither he nor his daughter were capable of having a civilized conversation and acting like decent human beings, and I had absolutely no interest in interacting with them. My uncle said nothing but pulled my dad back, and my mother tried to salvage the situation by trying to reason with me. She was trying to bargain with me and kept saying that we could save a lot of time by just forgetting about that and that could only happen if I deleted it. I did not even need to forgive them or whatever, but I had had enough. I just told him that I did not want to negotiate with them and I honestly did not believe that they had the guts to go through with the lawsuit because that would create more trouble for them than it would for me. And most importantly, the thing about defamation lawsuits is that the entire basis of the lawsuit is that it's only valid if the other person is lying. Everyone knew that I wasn't lying, so filing a lawsuit against me would only bring out their truth, and I was all for it. Then my dad started screaming and cursing at me, and I lost my temper. So I reciprocated by doing the same thing. Naturally, it turned into a shouting match soon enough and my dad got to working up that he started punching the wall and was eventually able to make a hole in it. My uncle had tried to stop him from doing it, but there was no point. He had been trained as a cop, and it was actually pretty scary to watch him punch a hole in my wall. But after he was done, what he did was what pissed me off even more. He took out a wad of cash from his wallet, threw it onto my coffee table, and then walked out after saying that I could contact him if I needed more. It was incredibly disturbing and disrespectful to me, and it was then I decided that I was going to have to pursue this legally. It had become very obvious to me that both my dad and Jenny are unhinged, and I don't want them around me at any point now. Initially, it had just been funny to mess with them, but, clearly, there's something very wrong with both of them because I can't imagine normal people behaving like this. So I had a talk with my lawyer and told him everything that had happened right from the beginning. Of course, he already knew about the incident with my car since I had posted about it online, and now we are thinking about getting a restraining order against my family. I definitely qualify for it, especially after what happened today. A lawsuit will also be particularly helpful in bringing out the truth about my family, and I think that's really necessary at this point. People should know what kind of scum I'm dealing with because they really are the worst. So I'm actually looking forward to going against them right now. Update 3. Hey. So in my last update, I said I was going to file a lawsuit and a restraining order against my family, and I finally did that last week. The legal proceedings have started, and I only recently discovered from a couple of old school friends that Jenny had apparently become a full-fledged drug dealer. And it wasn't even like she was selling weed to college kids. She was dealing with hard drugs and had managed to build an elite clientele for herself like spoiled rich trust fund brats or upper management folks from the corporate world. You know exactly the kind of people I'm talking about, and I'm actually surprised that she was able to do this, but I guess it's a good thing that she's finally found her niche. I guess that's why she was actually jealous of me because obviously I'm doing far better than her in life right now because I'm a successful entrepreneur and she's a drug dealer. So even though she parties every weekend, it's nothing compared to the life I have and nobody is really proud of her. It's going to be hard to prove that she is a dealer, but I'm sure that a bit of fair investigation will reveal everything in due course. Right now it's just based on rumors, but I have my faith in the judicial system. And anyway, at least I received an explanation as to how he was able to maintain the kind of lifestyle that she had without any apparent source of income. So that's what's going on with my sister, and I don't think that my parents had cut her off at any point because the last time that I saw them after our court hearing, they seemed to be pretty chummy. I don't think they would have been able to patch things up so quickly, especially if my dad had been telling me the truth about cutting her out of his life. Honestly, I'm just glad that I did not give my parents a chance and I went with my gut feeling. They are truly terrible people, and I'm just hoping that when the verdict finally comes through, it's against them. So far it seems like it's going to be, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed. My lawyer and I are going to leave no stone unturned to make sure that they get what they deserve. I have the entire family on my side, and I also have a lot of friends who are willing to testify if it comes down to it. Even my neighbors who had heard the wall getting punched repeatedly on the day that my father has visited are willing to testify against him. So at least I'm going to be able to get a restraining order against them for sure, and that's still good enough for me. About the rest of it, I'll deal with it as it happens. But for now, I'm just really happy that I'm getting the kind of closure that I needed. I hadn't even realized how much pent-up anger and frustration I had within me because of my family until recently. And I don't know if this is the most productive way to deal with it or not, but at least I am dealing with it and confronting my feelings, so I'm pretty proud of myself and I know that this is going to work out.